Hey everybody, welcome back. So, I previously shot this video, or at least a video on the gun that you're about to see, but I didn't publish it. I didn't edit it together. I didn't show it to you guys because I wasn't happy with it. There have been a lot of videos over the course of the past several months with the channel that I've shot and not been happy with, so I just scrapped them, either reshot them or table the video for another time. One of those, just to give you guys a little bit of behind the scenes, was my review on my Tavor. I tried probably 40 times, 40 different takes to shoot the video on my Tavor and how I have it modded and all that stuff. And it was just one thing or another. The dogs barked like crazy in the background, or the camera decided to stop recording on me randomly. And by camera, I mean phone, of course. I got a phone call in the middle of it for something important. I was buying this house at the time. Just all kinds of stuff kept coming up. So I decided I was going to wait till I got a normal actual camera to shoot that video, just to make it a little bit easier on me. But yeah, so I shot the video on the PF9 already. I didn't like the video. I didn't like how it turned out. So I decided I was going to just wait, hold off, and reshoot the video later. So that's what you guys are going to see today. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Thank you for watching, and yeah, let's start talking about some guns now. Something that's actually, interesting and relevant to the channel. Well, there it is, everybody. Nuttin' Fancy's favorite PF9. Now, of course, this isn't Nuttin' Fancy's gun, right? But this is my Kel Tec Pf9, modified by me, and I wanted to give you guys some thoughts on it and kind of my history with this gun. So I bought the PF9, I want to say 2010, 2011, somewhere in that, maybe 2012, somewhere in that time frame. Nuttin' Fancy, if you guys don't know who Nuttin' Fancy is, go check him out. I'll leave a link in the bottom below to his channel just so you guys can go check him out. I actually really like his videos. Some people like to bag on him, but I think he puts a lot of good, honest information out there. But he was really touting this gun and talking about it a lot, and talking about how great a concealed carry gun it was. It's so lightweight, it's got a lot of great features, and at the time it was kind of in the front runner of the market. I mean, nobody had really come out with a striker fired single stack 9mm pistol that was reliable and well known at that point. I had never heard of one for sure. Things like the Smith & Wesson Shield, the Glock 43, etc. didn't exist when I bought this gun. And I bought it because I thought I was going to want to get into smaller, more concealed carry type guns for concealed carry. Turns out I still like the larger guns. This is a CZ P10C, by the way. It is hot and loaded and ready because it's a gun that I'm carrying right now. But yeah, turns out I was wrong, but this gun was kind of my first adventure into the small concealed carry intended type guns. And yeah, so let's just start talking about it. First of all, it's chambered in 9mm. It's a single stack magazine. Pretty sure these are made by Mekgar, although it's not marked Mekgar anywhere on it. I have a Kel Tec Pf9 that has a magazine that looks very similar in construction and quality, and it is marked Mekgar. So I'm just assuming Mekgar makes a magazines. It's a 7-round magazine, so you get 7+1 in the gun. It's a double action only 9mm. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. And yeah, it's obviously intended for concealed carry. Fairly thin, fairly slim, lightweight, easy to conceal. All those good things that you want in a low profile concealed carry gun, if I can use my words today. Sorry guys, it is Monday for me as I'm recording this, so please bear with me and my mush mouth. Back to the gun. Let me do some comparisons first to some other concealed carry guns that are currently available on the market, and then tell you what I think about the gun and what I've done to it, the upgrades and things that I've done, and kind of my overall take on the gun. So be right back. Alright guys, so I actually stole the wife's scale for this video, so please don't tell her. Shh, just our little secret, right? Alright, now that disclaimer's over with, let's see how much this weighs compared to a lot of more popular options that are on the market today. 15.3 ounces. Fairly lightweight for the Kel Tec with an empty 7-round factory magazine inserted into it. All of these guns are going to have empty, as in unloaded, factory magazines inserted in them. They're all the flush fit variety, just to make the most apples to apples comparison I possibly could. Now let's see how much the Glock 43 weighs. 1 pound, 1.9 ounces. So essentially 18 ounces. That's a little bit more than 2.5 ounces, if I can do math in public, more than the Pf9 over here. Now, the SIG P365. If you guys watched my video on this gun, I said that in my hands it felt like it weighed the same unloaded as the Glock 43. So let's just see how close I was. Haven't weighed these two yet. 1 pound, 2.5 ounces. So about a ½ ounce-ish more than the Glock 43. I'd say it's pretty good for my hands not being calibrated and officially, certified and all that good stuff. The Springfield XDS, chambered in 9mm. These are all 9mm handguns, by the way. 1 pound, 6.5 ounces, the heaviest one so far. That is about 7 ounces more than our Pf9, so not insignificant, especially when we're talking about a concealed carry gun. And last but not least, the Smith & Wesson Shield. Let's see how much that weighs. 1 pound, 4.4 ounces. All right. So why am I weighing all these guns on camera for you guys and showing you what the differences are? I'm showing you one of the big highlights, the big selling points of the Pf9. Why it's such a popular gun. Because it's so lightweight. And back in the day, like again, 2012-ish time frame, that was a huge deal because there weren't a whole lot of options in that size category on the market, and a lot of them were either metal frame guns and or chambered in 380. So to have a very lightweight polymer frame 9mm concealed carry handgun was a huge deal. And that's what kind of catapulted this gun to the success that it has. They were, and still are, very, very hard to find on the shelves. Now, I know part of that is because Kel Tec, for whatever reason, their guns are just always hard to find. I think a lot of that is to do with the demand that Kel Tec guns carry. Everybody wants Kel Tec guns. And I think some of that may also have to do with some of their manufacturing techniques and processes. But that aside, it was a very popular option back in the day. But now that all of these guns have come out, you don't really hear much about this gun anymore. And I think that's kind of interesting. For those of you who don't know, the Ruger LC9 is basically just a Rugerized version of this gun. Now, I think it's a more comfortable gun in a lot of ways. I've shot one a few times, and I like them better overall, to be honest with you. But that's a, pretty much a product improved copy of the Kel Tec Pf9. Overall, they're about the same size as each other. If we're being honest here, I'll do a comparison. So, SIG P365 10-round flush fit magazine. It's basically a double stack magazine. A little shorter, maybe a little wider for the SIG. Not much. And you guys can see there, if I line up the top of the slides, about the same, roughly. Again, just rough measurements here, guys. Nothing super scientific about this. M&P from the top, about the same width, maybe a little bit wider, a little bit longer. If I line up the top of the slide, it's a little bit longer, just a little in the grip, not a whole lot. Springfield, if I can grab it and not the table cover, line up the top of the slides. Definitely a little longer, but just a scotch. A little bit thicker. Definitely heavier. We saw that already. And just a little bit longer in the slide and barrel as well. And finally, the Glock 43. Now, the Glock 43, the XDS and the Shield both have standard 7-round magazines, which is what the Kel Tec has. The Glock has a standard 6-round magazine, so it loses a round, gains a little bit of weight. If I line up the top of the slide there, about the same height, definitely longer and wider than the Kel Tec. So, what does all this mean? Well, honestly, it means whatever you want it to mean. The size, weight, all that good stuff, it translates into some different things, and we'll talk about some of those attributes and how that works for shooting the guns here in just a minute. But take these size and weight comparisons with a grain of salt, because honestly, it's going to be up to you to decide where you're going to put your money. Okay, this gun is by far the cheapest of all of them on the table. I think the next cheapest gun is probably the Shield, because you can usually find those for some pretty good smoking deals. But this is definitely the least expensive gun on the table, so it's a really good budget option for somebody who doesn't have a lot of money but still wants a gun to carry to defend themselves. Now, that being said, I would rather carry any of these other guns than the Pf9. So let's dive a little bit more into why that is. Alrighty, Kel Tec Pf9. Why would I rather carry a XDS, a Shield, a Glock 43, a Smith & Wesson P365, any of those guns over the Pf9? It's lighter weight, it's smaller than almost all of those guns, if not smaller than all of them for sure. Why? That's because of two big reasons. One, this thing, like I said earlier, is double action only. That means that as I pull this trigger here, watch. Well, I'll take the empty mag out and double check that it's clear, just for you safety sallies. Long, heavy trigger pull. You can see at the back that that internal hammer starting to expose itself. Hopefully you guys can see that. And finally, break. Reset. Watch this. You think that first click that you just heard is the reset. It's not. Go all the way up to that second click. That's your reset. Then a long, heavy, fairly smooth double action trigger. All the way out. Boom. Every single shot. Now, again, back when this thing was first being marketed and touted, that wasn't such a big deal, right? You compare this to something else in its size category at the time, a J-frame revolver from Smith & Wesson or a knockoff from Taurus or something. And this thing, with that double action trigger pull, it's a nice, smooth, probably lighter than most of those J-frames out there, trigger pull. You get 7 shots plus 1 in the chamber. It's thin as hell. No, I'm not pointing this at myself. It's lightweight. It's semi-automatic. It's quick to reload. That's great, right? Well, yeah, back then, sure. But then, when Smith & Wesson comes out with their beautiful little M&P, now you've got the same thing, a little bit heavier, sure, but with a striker trigger. So, get the magazine out, double check it. Trigger on this thing, you've got your take up, there's your wall, little bit of creep, not a whole lot, and your break. Reset. Boom, right there. So this gun gives you a faster trigger pull that is lighter weight and gives you better follow-up shots, faster follow-up shots that are easier to put where you want them. You need to train with this gun less to be proficient with it than you do with this gun. So that's one of the things. I mean, then yeah, Glock came out. Glock and Springfield came out with their versions. Everybody started jumping on the single stack striker fire 9mm bandwagon after this, but these guys were kind of the front runner in this field, and that at the time made it a fairly good option, except for what I'm about to tell you. For whatever reason, with this gun, and it could totally be me, you guys can feel free to take a man card. If you want to take one of my man cards, post down in the comments below. Let me know. You can take a man card. That's fine. This gun physically hurts me to shoot. Now, I can't say that about any other gun that I own. All right? period. This gun hurts to shoot. When I'm pulling the trigger on this 9mm pistol, as I pull back, first of all, it's got a very thin polymer trigger, very, very thin, and a very thin trigger guard at the bottom. So as I'm pulling my finger back, my finger, look, it's rubbing on the bottom of that trigger guard. And when it gets to the breaking point and it goes bang, that gun just kicks. I mean, it jumps up very, very sharply. It's a very sharp recoil impulse. And much sharper than any of the other ones on this table, by the way. And what that translates into for me is not just a lot of felt recoil, but pinching or smacking my finger over and over again, to the point where if I'm going to take this to the range and shoot it, it's going to be the last gun I shoot, because I've had it happen before. I've put 5 or 6 magazines through this and then tried to shoot another handgun, and my hand is shaking from just the pain of shooting this. It's not fun. It's not a pleasant gun to train with. And like I said, you want to take a man card, that's totally cool. You guys are free to do that. However, putting that aside for a second, if I have to choose a gun to defend myself and my family with, if I'm going to carry a small gun that I can't necessarily, print in public, I have to wear a certain type of clothing, and I still want to carry a gun, whatever the case may be, to get me away from something like this, then I'll just put that over there. Then I'm going to pick something besides the PF9 that's going to do the job and not hurt me, that I'm going to be proficient with. A byproduct of that, and I don't know if it's the gun or if it's me, because honestly, I can't tell when I'm shooting it. This gun shoots massive groups. I'm talking huge groups for me. With any of the other guns on the table, I can put a group about yay big, so $50, silver dollar size or so, at 10 yards if I'm taking my time. Now, if I'm shooting, Mozambique drill to the chest, one to the head, or something like that, sure, the groups are going to open up. But if I'm taking my time trying to make a tight group, I can put down silver dollar, $50 size group at 10 yards with any of the guns on the table except the Kel Tec. For whatever reason, I'm getting groups that are like this big at 10 yards, where none of the shots are touching, they're not even close to each other, and I can't tell if it's me anticipating recoil, jerking the trigger one way or the other, healing the gun. I don't know. It could be just, I know this thing's going to hurt when I shoot it, and I'm not going to want to shoot it. I don't know. But for me, if I can't depend on this gun to put lead where I want it to, I'm not going to carry it, because that's irresponsible of me as a concealed carrier, as a family man, as whatever, to have a gun that I can't trust it and myself, the combination thereof, to be accurate. So that's why I don't really care. I haven't carried this gun in probably 5-6 years at least. It's been a while. I haven't shot it in a few years, actually, and I may be better with it these days now that I've had a little bit more training and I've done a lot more trigger time, a lot more range time and stuff. Who knows? Maybe I'd be better. But just thinking about how hard this gun is to shoot and the fact that it's not a pleasant gun to shoot at all kind of steers me away from carrying this gun or taking it to the range just to practice with it. If you're not gonna enjoy, don't get me wrong, small guns, they kick. Okay, got it, cool. Let's move on from that. But if you take the gun to the range and you shoot it and you go, this hurts, this is not fun, I'm not enjoying myself, I'm getting terrible groups, I feel like I suck at shooting, you're not going to train with this gun. And if you don't train with it, then you're not going to get better, right? Therefore, for me, it's not a concealed carry option. When I have so many better choices these days, it's not for me. It may be for some of you, because like I said, it is a budget gun. It is relatively inexpensive. You may be able to find a used one for $100, $150, who knows? And you may like that double action only trigger. It may just work for you. You may have been a guy that grew up on J-frame revolvers, and that's your thing, but you want a semi-auto now. Maybe look into this or the Ruger LC9, either one, because it could be a very good, easy option for you that doesn't cost you a lot of money. However, for me, not so much the case. But enough about why I don't like this gun and why you guys are going to take my man cards from me. Let's move on now to field strip disassembly, some of the upgrades I've done, all that good stuff. All right, guys. So to field strip this gun, first thing we're going to do obviously is make sure it's unloaded. I've demonstrated several times throughout the video it is. However, I'm going to show you magazines out. There's not a round in the magazine. Then I'm going to check the chamber. See, there's nothing in the chamber. Now, I'm going to make a quick note for those of you who are new to guns. For any semi-automatic, whether it be a rifle, pistol, shotgun, whatever, if it's magazine fed, there's a very specific order that you want to clear the gun in, okay? What you're going to want to do first, I recommend putting the safety on if the gun has a safety. This one does not, by the way. But if it does, put the safety on it. Then you're going to take your magazine out, and then you're going to clear the chamber. If there's a round in the chamber, you take the chamber out. You don't want to do that in the opposite order. So you don't want to clear the, here, I'll just pretend there's a round in this. Okay, we're going to pretend, actually, we don't have to pretend. I have one right here. So put a round in it. I'm going to go ahead and load the gun. Okay, so I don't want to go ahead and check the chamber. Hey, look, there's nothing in that chamber, right? That chamber's clear, okay? Cool. And now take the magazine out, and there's nothing in there because guess what? Now there's a round in that chamber because I did it in the wrong order, okay? If you, let's try this again. Go ahead and load the gun up. Okay. Now, if I take the magazine out first, then check the chamber, there's no way I can feed another round into that chamber without me realizing it, okay? So, for any of you who are new to guns and wanting to make sure that you're safe with them, that you know that it's unloaded, yes, you always treat a gun like it's loaded, all that good stuff, but there are times when you want the gun to be unloaded, like when you're cleaning it, or if you're doing dry fire practice or something. So you want to be safe, know the status of your gun at all times. That's how you do it. Magazine first, then chamber, not the other way around. It's a really good way to have a negligent discharge, okay? Now that we've got it completely emptied out, we're going to leave the slide locked to the rear, and then we're going to flip it over. Now, if you look here, this takedown pin, look at the top, you see, hopefully you guys can see that in there. Let me turn the light up a little bit. There's a little trough cut into that pin. That is designed for the rim of a 9mm case to fit right into. Just fits in well. No, I'm not pointing this at myself, okay? Then you just take it, use it like a lever, push it up, and your pin pops out. From there, you can just pull it out, set it aside, put your round or your piece of spent brass or whatever to the side so you don't get it mixed up with all the other stuff. Take your slide, pull it back, slowly let it go forward, and it just comes off the gun. Nice and easy, right? From there, set your frame down, take your guide rod and recoil spring, compress just a little bit, and pull up. Now be very careful when you do this because unlike every other gun I've shown you in this video, this has a non-captive recoil spring. It's actually a dual nested spring system. So you got a small spring that rides inside the big spring, and then those both go around your guide rod. Now, while we're here, I'll go ahead and talk about this. This is one of the upgrades that I made to this gun, is I bought the Kel Tec factory steel guide rod. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know I cannot stand polymer parts in guns in certain places. Polymer frames are okay. Other parts, magazine followers, base plates, stuff like that, that's fine. But guide rods or slide stops or magazine releases, things like that, I want to be metal if I can get them to be metal. And this comes from the factory with a polymer guide rod. I don't like that. So I went ahead and bought this steel version. Now, this stuff does factor into the weight. There's a couple of things here I'll show you that do make the gun heavier than it would be if you just bought it from the factory, okay? So keep that in mind with the weigh section before this section, or two sections before, I guess, this video. But I wanted metal, and I wanted a little bit more weight up front to try to help tame some of the recoil of this gun, because the reason it recoils so hard, if you haven't figured it out, is because it's so damn lightweight. The thing weighs nothing, and 9mm recoil is 9mm recoil. So if you don't have weight to absorb it, that energy has to go somewhere. A lot of it's going out the muzzle down range. Some of it's going to come back towards you through your hand, your arm, all that good stuff. Enough about that. I like metal guide rods. I'm going to move on. From there, you've got your standard Browning type tilting barrel action. You just take your barrel, move it forward, lift it up, comes right out. Has this little bell, kind of like 70s jeans, towards the bottom there. And you've got your chamber, all that good stuff. Let's see if I can get a better shot of that for you guys with a light. Maybe if it will focus. There we go. So I don't know exactly what kind of steel this is or what finish it has on it. It does have some sort of finish on the barrel, because if it didn't, I promise you, if it was just unfinished steel, it would be rusted by now. It does have a little bit of patina there, but it's not blued or parkerized. The slide on this one is blued. Don't know what they did to the barrel. Has kind of a weird two-tone look, but whatever. Not a big deal. Okay. Moving on, we've got the slide here, which you can see is just machined out. And they actually did a pretty good job of machining it out. This does not have any sort of firing pin safety. As you guys can see there, there's nothing back here that would prevent the firing pin from just protruding out the front. You guys can see that in the breech face. So there are some machine marks. You guys can see those right there towards the back and up here in the front. But again, think about the price of the gun, right? I mean, this is not a expensive gun by any means. So they're going to cut costs somewhere. And one of those places is going to be in the machining quality of some of the materials. It still looks very nice from the outside, nicely finished. But the inside, it looks a little bit rougher. Got this piece of spring steel here holding, if I can stop bumping the camera, holding our extractor in. There's our breech face. There's the muzzle end. Got a fixed plastic front sight and an adjustable for windage plastic rear sight back here. 3-dot variety, which my sights are kind of dirty, so that's okay if you guys can see those. And then moving on to our frame, we have just a polymer frame here. We have a chassis type insert, much like the SIG P320 if you're familiar with that system. Basically, you can pop out that pin, focus camera, focus, there we go, that pin, that pin, that pin, and that pin. Remove the chassis, and then you can put a different grip module on it. They have different colors and things like that. They're pretty inexpensive from Kel Tec's website. And that's one thing I will say about Kel Tec. I own 5 Kel Tec firearms, and if you go to their website and you look for accessories for their guns, almost all of them are very, very inexpensive. I'm talking like anywhere from a couple bucks to, 20, 30 bucks. Their magazines are inexpensive. Their replacement parts, their accessories are all very inexpensive. So that is one very nice thing. It's not just a budget gun. It's a budget gun with budget parts and accessories and things associated with it. So you can completely mod this gun out, do all kinds of stuff to it, and not really have a whole lot of money invested into it, which is nice. Some of their guns are a bit more expensive, but they're still, I'd say, reasonably priced for what they are. Like the Kel Tec KSG, that's kind of an expensive gun. What, $800, $900, depending on where you find it these days. But for a 14, 15 round shotgun, pump action shotgun, that's, very, very short. I could fit it in a car under the seat or something like that very easily. That's pretty good for that kind of innovation, right? Sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent. Point is, you can buy a bunch of different accessories from Kel Tec. They're very inexpensive. Moving on, if we look at the inside here, if the camera focuses, we've got our ejector right here that you guys can see. We've got our hammer, our full-length one-piece rails on both sides, slide, stop, slide, release. There's our disconnector here, so that's what actually resets the trigger and firing components after the slide cycles, so it doesn't go full auto, or more likely the hammer doesn't follow the slide home and then you just have a dead gun. Nothing much else to say about that. It does have the one slot pick rail up here up front. Now that's a very short distance. I'm sure there's a light out there that somebody makes that would fit on that, but Honestly, that's kind of intended for a laser or nothing, as you see that I have it on there, because it's a very short distance. You couldn't put TLR1 or something like that on there. While I'm here, let's talk about a couple of other upgrades I've done. First, you can see my homemade stipple job here. Nothing crazy, definitely not beautiful, but adds a little bit more texture to the frame and the grip. And because this is an inexpensive gun, dang, I keep bumping the tripod. I'm sorry, guys. It's an inexpensive gun, and I can buy replacement grips for it fairly easily. It's a good gun, or it was a good gun for me to do some practice on for stippling before I moved on to other more expensive guns, where if I mess up the frame of that gun, I've messed up the entire serialized item. As you guys can see on this, your serial number is actually on this chassis insert here. So you take this whole piece out when you replace the frame. So this is actually the firearm according to the NFA. So I figured that was a good gun for me to do some practice stippling on. I've also got these metal frame pins right here. Now this actually came as part of a kit. Kel Tec sells a clip that bolts on here, comes back and loops over, so you can carry this kind of like a pocket knife in a way. Has a similar sort of clip to it. And yeah, not a big fan of that, never used it, but I saw it on their website and I bought it because the frame pins that originally came here were flush mounted. They weren't screws like this. These are machine screws. It didn't protrude on either side like these do, but they were polymer. And once again, I don't want polymer frame pins. Now, I know Glock has a couple of polymer frame pins, and that's something I haven't ever really forgiven them for, but either way, I had the option for very little money to fix that, in my opinion, so I fixed it. Now, I will say, if you buy that upgrade from Kel Tec, either way, whether you use the clip or not, lock tight those screws, because they will constantly back out on you if you don't. Even if you're not shooting the gun, if you're just carrying it or moving it around from place to place, you're doing some cleaning on it, if you're messing with that gun, those screws will back out. But I've Loctited these and they haven't moved on me since, and that was probably a couple years ago. Another upgrade that I bought that's not currently on the gun, if you guys can see, focus, those marks on the trigger, they actually sell a trigger shoe that sits over the trigger and gives you probably 1/8 of an inch or so on either side more width. And I thought that would be great because, again, this gun does hurt me to shoot. It snaps my fingers really bad. But once I put it on there, I realized why it was a bad idea. If you guys look at this, you see there's a lot more space behind the trigger than there is in front of the trigger in that trigger guard. And what that translates to is, put my finger in here so you guys can see, very little room for my trigger finger as it sits. I mean, I'm touching the front of the trigger guard now with my finger on the trigger. You put that shoe on there, you have even less room between the pad of your finger and the front of that trigger guard. It's very hard to get in there. Now, that's not to mention if you're wearing gloves or something. It's going to be even worse, all right? So I put it on there. It also popped off on me a couple times, even though I tightened those screws down like crazy, hence the marks on the trigger. So I decided, screw it. I'll just leave it off and keep the gun as is, right? Those are the only upgrades I've done to this gun. Now, Kel Tec has a bunch more stuff on their website, but I haven't invested very much in this gun. I've got 2 magazines for it. I don't have a custom holster or anything like that for it. Like I said, I don't carry it. It's just kind of a gun in my collection. I'd like to be able to shoot it better. Maybe take it out to the range and practice with it some more and see if I can tighten those groups up. But for me, it's an inexpensive option that, if I had to keep it in a vehicle or something, I could at least have a gun with me that I wouldn't be too worried about losing if it got stolen or something. Just because it is very inexpensive. So let's cut now and move back towards reassembly. Alright, so reassembling your Kel Tec Pf9. It's actually pretty simple. We're going to set that aside for a second. We're going to take our slide that we had from before, take our barrel, put our slide inverted so that the bottom part, or I guess the top part, the sights are towards the ground. Take our barrel with the locking lugs also facing upwards, angle it in, drop it so that the front goes through the front opening of the slide. push it all the way to the rear until it seats and locks in. Set that down. We take our guide rod and our 2 recoil springs, make sure that both of them are there and it's not just one. Put your guide rod back in the middle. Take your slide, put the spring end towards the front of the slide where that small hole is there. Compress it and set it on that ledge. Now be careful when you're disassembling and reassembling this pistol, because that will go flying if you don't keep your finger on it with enough pressure. It will go flying across the room. Personal experience. So from there, we set that down, take our frame, pick this back up because that was a waste of motion, line up the rails with the cuts in the slide, put it on, pull it to the rear. Now as you're doing this, this barrel can decide to come back with the slide, and you can have a barrel protruding about that far out instead of that far out. Just be careful with that. If it happens, send it back forward, do it again nice and carefully until it does this. Not that hard. If you point it down, gravity helps. And then if you look where your takedown pin should go, line that hole up there, take your takedown pin, put it back through, and that shelf that I pointed out earlier, if I can get it to focus, come on camera, should be facing upwards. Just push it all the way across and it'll click in when you get it there, just like so. Send your slide back forward, rack it a few times, and you're done. Now, one thing I will say is Kel Tec does not recommend dry firing this gun, and I completely understand why. If you look at the design and the way it's built, right back here where that firing pin is, that's where the hammer strikes. It hits that firing pin and then proceeds to hit the milled out portion of the slide there. I have another gun. It's an older gun. I don't know exactly what year it was made, but it's a Spanish copy of the Colt 1903 hammerless, essentially. And I'm ashamed to say that was my great-grandfather's gun. I'm not ashamed of that. I'm ashamed to say that as a kid growing up, I would get to look at it and, quote unquote, play with the gun, right? Under adult supervision. Everything was fine. I wasn't doing anything stupid or crazy. It's not like I just ran around the house with a real gun. But I dry fired it a lot because even as a kid, I did a lot of research on guns and I knew a lot about guns. And I dry fired that gun a lot. And I don't know if it was me or just it wasn't properly heat treated. It was not the highest quality gun in the world. I don't really know. Could have happened before I ever touched the gun. But the firing pin at the back mushroomed out and kind of melded into a recess that the hammer made inside the slide there. And now that firing pin just kind of wants to stay in that position all the time. It doesn't really like to go back to where it's supposed to be. Again, could be my fault. Could not be. Not sure. Like I said, kind of ashamed of that. But either way, just something to note. Kel Tec doesn't recommend dry firing this gun. I know I did it a few times for you guys on camera just because I wanted to show you the trigger pull, and I'm not going to put a live round in it in my house. And I didn't really want to take the time to find my snap caps because I'm not that worried about it. Just for a few times, it's okay. I've already kind of given you guys my overall thoughts on this gun and why I would choose something else over it. Now, that is not intended to be a reflection on Kel Tec as a company, on their other products, on any... that's not a negative thing overall. That's a negative thing in my personal opinion, which is all it is, and it's worth exactly what you guys are paying for it, by the way. It's a negative opinion on this gun. But I have 4 other Kel Tec guns that I really like. There are things about them that I wish I could change, and I wish I could go back to the people designing them and be a little bug in their ear to change a couple things. But they're great guns. I may have had one stovepipe in the probably 500 rounds I've put through this gun. Maybe. I can't honestly remember because it's been so long since I shot it. But it's worked well for me. It is a very lightweight, thin, small, easy to conceal gun that has been reliable. I just can't shoot it well, and I don't enjoy shooting it, so I'm not going to train with it. That's just me. But if you're willing to put in the time and the rounds and the effort to train with the gun and get good with the gun, if the trigger doesn't bother you, you know, if the plastic trigger, which is another thing I don't personally like, although a few of these other guns also have plastic triggers on them, just saying. I don't want to be too much of a hypocrite, but either way, it could be an option for you, all right? And that's why I'm doing the review, to tell you guys what I think of it, but I'm not telling you not to buy this gun. I'm not telling you that it's not for you. I'm just telling you what I think, based on my experience with my version of the gun. Something else I want to point out now that I thought about it is, listen to this. There's no rounds or anything in it, right? Completely empty. The slide and the frame just rattle around. Maybe you guys can see if I do it this way. See that movement there? Just something else to think about. It is a budget option, right? You're not buying a old school SIG. You're not buying a Smith & Wesson Performance Center gun here, okay? You're buying an inexpensive protection gun. I like the fact that it has a rail on it, so maybe there is a light out there that would fit on that rail, although it would almost certainly protrude out in front of the muzzle. It at least gives you options, right? It's got a metal magazine release, metal slide stop slide release, adjustable sights. You could use this gun to defend yourself, and if that $200, $250, $150, depending on where you get it from, whether it's new or used, if that's all you got to spend on a gun and you want to spend the rest on ammo and training, go for it. I'm not going to tell you not to. But if you can save up a little bit more cheddar and buy something a little bit nicer, easier to shoot, with more aftermarket accessories and stuff, I would probably recommend this gun over the Kel Tec. So, just my thoughts, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry I rambled a little bit. I tend to get sidetracked when I talk about stuff. If you guys have watched the channel for any length of time, you know that. But thank you guys for the support. I appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and that you got something out of it. If you have any questions about the gun or any of the other guns on the video, if you want to see a review on the other guns on the video, or anything like that, let me know. I intentionally didn't really hit specs much in this video other than the weight, just because honestly I don't care that much. It doesn't matter to me if the barrel length is this and the height of the gun is this, whatever. That's not my bag. But if that's something you guys would like me to include in all my future videos, let me know. I appreciate it, guys. I can't tell you how much it means to me that you watch my videos and support the channel, so thank you. Please hit the like button and share the video on the channel with your friends if you did like the video, and let me know what you thought. Y'all take it easy, roll tide, and I'll see you later.